Distinguished colleagues, my name is Sai Navoti, Chief of the Small Island Developing States Unit at the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, based in New York. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the organizers, Greening the Island, and the Global Renewable Alliance, to welcome all of us to this event this morning towards taking off for 100% renewables, the importance of early finance and island leadership. We are very, very fortunate indeed that today we have had distinguished colleagues who have made themselves available to come and speak to us and share their experiences about the topic that we're about to discuss. And in that manner, I want to specifically acknowledge the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Energy from the Kingdom of Tonga, who has kindly stand in this morning on behalf of the Minister for Climate Change, who has sent her regrets that she is occupied with another high-level meeting, unfortunately. And I would also like to extend a sincere good morning to all the members of the panelists who are here with us. I note that we have Ms. Vanessa Torre, the Director of Foreign Economic Divisions at the Ministry of Economic and Social Foreign Economic Division at the Ministry of Economic and Development of the Government of Curaçao. We have, fortunately, Mr. Francesco Lacabera, the representative from IRENA, Director for Partnership. Thank you very much for your time, sir. And we also have Ms. Neha Mukhi, our colleagues from the World Bank is with us today. So we have a very good lineup of speakers. This morning we will hear, first of all, a keynote presentation from Mr. Guido Broggi, the Head of Business Development and Partnerships of the Global Renewable Alliance, to talk to us about some initiative towards 100% renewable and the importance of early finance and island leadership. So without any further ado, let me now welcome Mr. Broggi.
Thank you, Sai, and good morning to all. So in order to set the scene of today's meeting, I would like to go back to one of my passions, which is sailing. Sailing really connects me with the sea, with the wind, with the sun, hopefully. And actually, it is very much a connection with the nature. And let's imagine for a second to be on a sailboat and it is magnificent sea with the sun shining, and actually we have different options for us to go, where to go, how to go, and what we can do with when sailing. And actually it is important that we have an objective in when sailing, because we need to move from point A to point B. So we can decide to go it faster, go it slower, get it a wider range, follow the sea, understanding also the condition, maybe delay departure if there is a rough sea, so adapt to the condition. And this is a starting point to say actually strategy is important, so we need to adapt to the condition that are external to our control, but actually we need to make the journey in a way that actually is consistent and in a way that we are clear on the objective. So I will start by telling that islands represent a big opportunity, because we estimate on a prudent basis that there is more than 1 terawatt of opportunities of renewable energy on the island to get them from where they are now till 100% renewable. This is more or less equivalent to $1 trillion, so a big amount of money. Imagine, I don't know, the Olympic Stadium here in Baku full of notes. Probably it's not enough to reach $1 trillion. but actually it is something achievable considering that worldwide, not only for the island actually, we spend $7 trillion on fossil fuel subsidies. So there is something that actually is not so huge. What is today what we think is the island gap? So the islands have different needs. They have clearly a big issue in terms of energy security, resilience. They have the willingness to move to 100% renewable energy systems, and also they commit to it. But they, from time to time, have limited know-how. A lot of islands are small, so they cannot offer opportunities for the young generation that move abroad. And so in some cases, half of the population of an island, actually of the native population, is living abroad, and this is putting some limitation on the know-how on the island. And clearly there is the need for funding, because especially small islands clearly don't have a huge GDP or economy that can sustain the full investment requirement. On the other side, we have investors, developers, private companies that are willing to invest, but they ask for one stakeholder to speak with, because very often they are passed from one ministry to another, to maybe an intermediate person, etc. And clearly they don't have clarity on who is the decision maker. They clearly require fair returns. This is not a big issue on the island because of the high cost of energy that we often have there, but also they need a critical mass for the investment. An important point they want are the risking of the island, particularly when they are independent state or sub-nation. Clearly they are investing and they are committing on 25 years usually return, so the horizon is very long, and they want clearly, independently from the government side that is governing the island, clearly they want the safety for their investment, and clearly also permitting process is long. In terms of what we find, if we can move to the next slide. Sorry. Basically, we have some findings, and here we are a little bit highlighting the, if you want, the negative side of what we found. Is clearly that there are still challenges on islands. So there are good projects going on. There is the commitment of the island, but there are a lot of challenges. Number one, clearly that there is a lot of fragmentation, small projects, not integrated, maybe not fully exploited. We have a lot of installation, maybe without the battery energy storage system, and so clearly wind and solar clearly have the problem of the base load, and therefore battery energy storage system is a good integration. Limited know-how, we spoke. Bureaucratic permitting process. There is a story that actually was shared on the wonderful Pacific island of 3 years to get the final approval to do then a little project that it requires 1 week to build. So 3 years versus 1 week, clearly these are something extreme, clearly, but it's an unfortunate occasion that often happen. Curtailment in terms of the grid. Grid is an important infrastructure when we electrify the island to go renewable, and so this should be consistent with what we are doing. And again, occasion that actually maybe the cables is in delay to get to the solar PV farm or the wind farm there. So clearly there are examples that unfortunately the two things are not very well coordinated. Legislative framework and the guarantees, we talk about it. Inconsistent use of public fund. One of the days in the spring I was in one island of the Mediterranean, and the mayor showed me with pride 4 electric buses, and he was so proud of this change, but by the way they are charged with a diesel generation. So this is we smile, but this is the use of today public fund, because there are public fund available. So let's submit some projects. It's good to submit a great project like electric buses, but unfortunately, on the backside there is still diesel generation. So there is not a logical consequence and a long-term strategy on these projects. So we need to become more effective, I think, and more efficient. So Greening the Island, together with our partners, actually we sat down in Curacao for our observatory summit back in October, and we thought about it, and what we are proposing is about, number one, is a structured approach. Okay, so having an end-to-end view of the full journey with an ultimate scenario that can help us to understand where we can go, what we can achieve, what will be the needs in the future, taking into account also the evolution of the economy, more tourism, a desalination plant that are sucking up more electricity, or also a switch from, for instance, LPG to electricity in the heating, etc. This can have a huge impact on the demand. Clearly taking into account the constraints of the island, but more importantly align all the stakeholders towards a common goal. So there will be definitely, the journey will not be easy, there will be roadblocks, but if all the stakeholders, including the civil society, public utility, the regulatory body, the government, and so on, and the NGOs as well, clearly, so if all are committed to the end goal, actually everybody, the roadblocks will be definitely removed and issues sorted out. Clearly this will help to integrate the multi-year view, understanding the full journey, progress toward the SDGs, and finally integrate also the resilience planning that in most of the island is very important, considering actually what is happening, for instance, in the hurricane belt, in the Caribbean, or in the Pacific as well. So not to repeat clearly issues. So structure approach first, but actually we need to team up to scale it up. We really want to, actually there are a lot of efforts from many organizations, many institutions, and what we want is really team up all the partners together to make it more effective and more efficient. So to reach global targets faster, to help Ireland to move faster, and to scale it up with a higher efficiency and therefore also lower cost of energy. And last but not least is clearly the funding, the preparation, the strategy, and the enabling factors that should be prepared to pave the way actually to then the project financing are critical aspects. Very often are neglected or not considered because the investors want the projects ready to build, but there are some steps to get there. And so if we can bridge this gap between the island's need and actually the investors or the private companies, this will help to accelerate the energy transition and to support the islands that are the most affected by the climate change. Having said that, I leave the floor back to Sai to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Guido, for that setting the scene. This morning we are very fortunate to have with us here Mr. Gubus Cornwall, the Director, Country Engagement and Partnerships at the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA. Cornwall will make a statement for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a great pleasure to be part of this dialogue. And especially, I feel very privileged to join you today as we come together to bring our efforts together to support small islands, developing states, in accelerating their energy transition and ensuring a resilient and sustainable future for the small islands. For SIDS, the path to achieving climate and sustainable development goals through renewables and energy efficiency is particularly important, given their unique vulnerabilities and reliance on important fossil fuels. The survival of SIDS is non-negotiable. Climate change remains the greatest threat to their livelihoods, and COP29 represents a crucial opportunity for us to take decisive actions to safeguard their future. Today's event will highlight the critical role of tailored technical and financial support for SIDS to realize their climate ambitions. Ladies and gentlemen, SIDS have high ambition for renewables-driven energy transition, and from the first to second round of NDCs, they have increased their renewable energy targets by 69%. Last year, however, renewables constituted only 20% of SIDS power capacity, around 8.76 gigawatt, and the remaining 80% dependent on fossil fuels. And there's an urgent need to scale action on the ground, aligned with the global commitment for tripling renewables and doubling energy efficiency by 2030, to stay aligned with the 1.5-degree goal. One key challenge is that more than 40% of SIDS are either highly indebted or they are approaching debt distress. And this is limiting their capacity to invest in renewable energy projects. Additionally, recurring and intensifying natural disasters repeatedly set back their progress, forcing SIDS to divert resources toward recovery and building back. Notwithstanding, SIDS are demonstrating leadership through examples of successful early-stage financing and partnerships. In the Caribbean, Dominica's geothermal project, for instance, exemplifies how collaboration can drive transformative development. With over $55 million invested, Dominica has covered 45% of project costs from its own resources, with the remaining 55% coming through infrastructure grants and technical assistance from partners. And IRENA played a key role in that, especially providing technical assistance, support, and also facilitating dialogue among the key stakeholders in that project. Similarly, in the Pacific, the $200 million Tina River Hydro project in the Solomon Islands showcased public-private partnership as a key strategy, with support from 6 institutions and marking the country's first large-scale renewable infrastructure project. Mauritius' home solar project has successfully installed 10,000 solar PV systems on household rooftops. The project has already reduced electricity bill by 50% and is estimated to cut carbon emissions by 15,000 tons annually, save Mauritius around $400,000 per year, and reduce country's reliance on diesel fuels. Building on SIDS' proactive efforts, IRENA led SIDS Lighthouses initiative provides tailored support through partnerships to address SIDS energy transition priorities, which align closely with the Antigua-Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, ABAS. That framework, you recall, adopted earlier this year. And in the past decade, IRENA has been very much engaged with the SIDS, especially through the NDC framework, and supporting them in their improving their NDCs, helping them in the implementation of their NDCs. And we have supported over 40 SIDS through 330 activities during the last decade, working closely with SIDS in different parts of the globe. This year, we have undertaken very recently a renewable readiness assessment for Solomon Islands, and we have identified already critical priorities to take renewable energy agenda forward with the government. And we have already seen some impact of it, and based on the assessments we have identified, and Asian Development Bank and JICA are taking action to support Solomon Islands. In Sao Tome and Principe, we have done an assessment, this time in the context of healthcare energy interface, and underscored how decentralized solar solutions can increase resilience and reliability in medical facilities. And we have our analysis show it requires around 11.25 million US dollars to be able to make those facilities more resilient based on renewable energy solutions. We'll look at the different options, independent solar solutions, but also as a backup for the grid, which is most of the time fail because of the insufficient energy in it. But out of this $11.25 million required, we have already, based on the analysis, government already secured $4.25 million from MDBs as well as from private investors. So there is already close to 1/3 of this overall needs already covered with partners based on the analysis that we have undertaken. In Fiji, we are doing this regulatory and legislative analysis and identifying gaps, as well as provided recommendations of how to create a stronger investment framework for renewables, especially to be able to bring in more private sector investments into the market. Our efforts also include renewable energy roadmaps, rooftop solar assessments, technology plans, grid assessments. These are some of the areas that we have actively worked in many SITs in the past period, and we continue doing so in the coming period. IRENA's investment forums, they play a key role in bringing financing and also bringing financing issues on the top of the agenda, but also how we can bring in solutions to bridge that financing gap by facilitating not only high-level dialogue on to address those key issues to create a more conducive investment environments, but also actual matchmaking taking place on the spot by developing robust pipeline of projects and then matchmaking them with the group of financiers and investors. We had already last year an early version of it in Barbados, but we will continue doing these efforts in the coming period, not only in the Caribbean, but also in the Pacific and ACE regions in the coming period. One additional effort that we have undertaken, that's also a very recent effort, that we have worked in the Vanuatu Department of Energy. And in that case, we helped them develop a pipeline of projects focusing on 5 villages in the country and aiming to enhance energy security and livelihoods over 2,000 residents. And we secured through our efforts around $5 million US dollars grants to support this initiative in the country. That is through the Asian Development Bank, and we appreciate their support for that project. And this efforts also bringing in tangible results through this successful project implementation and financing. And to ensure that we continue to offer effective targeted support, IRENA also developed a monitoring and evaluation mechanism together with GTI. And now we are kind of testing it in 3 countries, in 3 different regions of islands. And that will provide, we will be able to see what the impact is, and then we can realign our work for higher impact in the coming period. And through this collaborative action, SITs have the unique opportunity to leverage local knowledge and global expertise, to mix it up, to be able to use it for the benefit of the islands, to unlock those innovative solutions and pathways for the islands. So thank you very much, and wishing you a very good discussion today.
Thank you, Director, for that presentations, and I also want to acknowledge the good work that IRENA is doing in small island developing states, which you have informed us this morning. We'll now invite our meeting to move into the panel discussions, and for that I will now invite Gianni Giannetta to come and moderate the panel, please.
Thank you very much, Sai, for anyway the opening introduction. Very inspiring also presentation by Gonul from IRENA anyway, and really a case study of of what is the topic of today, which is studies enable islands to really build a strategy and attract investments. So I'd like to call to join with me in the panel. I will start with the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Energy of Tonga, Mr. Sione Akawuola. I hope it was properly mentioned. Mrs. Vanessa Torre, Director of Foreign and Economic Division, Minister of Economic Development of Curaçao. And I'd like also to call Mrs. Sonia Dallop, Vice Chair of Global Renewable Alliance and CEO of the Global Solar Council. And indeed, Mr. Jaimes Kolantarai, a Principal Energy Specialist, Energy Sector Office, sectors of Group ASEAN Development Bank. And yes, maybe better. And yes, we are here. Okay. So I'd like, I stand so we can interact better, etc. So there was the presentation of Guido Brogi before that, setting a little bit the scene, no, of early stage finance, which is the topic of the COP today, because we want to bring a message for the COP. That indeed we need, there are a lot of money available, let me say, to invest in the renewables. We've been talking about actually billions, as indeed the representative of IRENA was saying, but there is a gap, bridge the gap is our our slogan for this COP, capital bridge finance. You have seen the picture before. So what's your reaction on this need of early stage finance? I would like to have a first round free and the perspective, for instance, from the governments, like Tonga, then Curaçao. What's your experience? I know that Tonga has a strategy plan to go closer to 100% renewable, and but how Tonga is trying to convert the plan in real projects. What are the challenges on that stage? Maybe there is a microphone here as well. So what's your view on that? Yes.
Thank you very much, moderator, for the questions. I believe this is a very crucial topic that has been mentioned in the panel, especially in the energy sector. And I'll try to intervene from the perspective of the small states, small developing states, especially from the Pacific region. As you mentioned, Tonga is already have some reform in terms of government perspective. As the ministry that I'm responsible to, which include the energy, we more like act as the regulatory oversight of the sector, and also the policy, national policy for the whole sector. So we're fortunate enough to have the new Act of Energy last year that really come under every activity under energy, which include the electricity, all the fuel companies and other aspects of energy. Of course, we already have our national policy framework, which is called our Tonga Roadmap, Energy Roadmap Plus, which is a more development on our initial term roadmap. And that's really initiate more planning in sectorial level and also in ministerial level and also the private sector. And that's where the challenges we have of identifying technology that we can be tapped into to achieve a renewable energy. As stated in our policy and our target, we need to achieve 70% by 2030, and also moving toward 100% by 2035. We're fortunate enough to have some courage from our local state-owned enterprise, which is our electricity company. They pledged they try to meet the target of 70% by next year. With very high target, but there are a few projects in line that they believe. So finance is always a challenge and always a resources that really makes things happen. You know, we have a very promising plan and framework back at home, but if there is no financial opportunity and accessible to finance on an early stage to make this happen, it's all it's all nothing. Of course, our regulatory framework has also encouraged the PPP approach. With this, we invite the idea of IPP and PPA in terms of providing power generation. But that's also come with another challenge. If we are trying to move from the controlling of our tariff by fuel to buy more energy from all the multi-IPP, we have to be careful that we might shift the cost from fuel to those people. And at the end of the day, the customers still pay a high tariff. But in terms of project, of course, we're looking at the CCF, now it's Los Angeles and other facilities. But I believe in our region, under the forum, we're looking at the promising facility of Pacific Resilient Fund. And we believe that can be an opportunity for us in the Pacific to have that fund be accessible. And not only that, but be not accessible, but be more quick to have response from that, rather than wait for years to have a response to those projects that been. Thank you.
Yes, you introduced a very interesting topic, which is, anyway, Tonga is one of the islands. There are not so many to have, let me say, a strategy to 100% renewables. But on one side, how to really get to the execution funding, no? And the model you described risks to give the power from the fossil fuel to other single entity. To build, let's say, to give available an early stage funding for the islands means to give power to the islands to make your own study until the end, anyway, feasibility studies, etc., maybe open tenders, etc., and to give the power to you to decide instead of, anyway, both models can be well analyzed, but indeed having an early stage funding available for the island, for the government, means to give you more power, no, to select, decide anyway, and pass from the strategy plan, from the energy strategy to the energy plan, no, which is what is needed anyway, and then feasibility studies for each project that we know they cost a lot. And Vanessa, no, we have been in Curaçao a few weeks ago, an amazing experience, amazing islands. We have seen so many people committed. We did a workshop together with about 30 representative of all the bodies, was an experience for us anyway to share what we had in mind for Curaçao with the feedback from people. Anyway, how important is to have this kind of anyway analysis and to arrive to the end anyway and bridge this gap on to have then final investors. What's your view on that?
Thank you very much, Gianni, for this invitation. Good morning, everybody. I come from an island in the Caribbean, Curaçao. A lot of people really know where it's located. It's located in front of the coast of Venezuela, in the southern part of the Caribbean. It has a population of 150,000 people. We are part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which means that we have a structure where we have 4 countries that comprise and conform the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Europe, and we have Aruba, Sint Maarten, and Curaçao located in the Caribbean. And the Netherlands has 3 special municipalities in the Caribbean, which are Bonaire, Saba, and St. Eustatius. A very how do you say, a structure that a lot of people cannot understand, cannot relate, but for us, it's what we are accustomed to. So when I say autonomous, you are independent within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So each island has its government, its parliament, people elect the government, the parliament, and the parliament establishes the government that has to deal with the day-to-day issues. Economic development, education, all of that is autonomous. The only thing we have in common and we work together is international affairs, foreign affairs, defense, and nationality. For the rest, as an island, we have to look for our own sources of income, and we decide what we want to develop on the island. So that also means that we have to decide which road we want to take for to become more independent and less dependent on fossil fuel. So after 100 years of refining on the island, we had a big refinery on the island. It started by the Dutch in 1915, and then in 1985, Shell left the island. They took the strategic decision to leave the island, and the government of Curaçao decided to attract PDVSA from Venezuela to exploit the refinery, because the refinery was accustomed to refine the heavy crude oil from Venezuela. So PDVSA took over, and then in 2019, their contract came to an end, and they never renewed it. We tried to find another partner to exploit the refinery, because the refinery is a source of great wealth and income to the island. Based on the refinery, we were able to give a very good development and life to the people of the island. But we never found a partner to exploit, and exploiting a refinery nowadays is not sustainable, not in the sense of environment, but not in the sense of business case either. So the government took the bold step last year at COP28 to pledge for 100% renewable in 2045 based on the program introduced to us together with Blue Planet Alliance, and we decided to take that bold step, and we needed to give the people of Curaçao a horizon, a way, a point in the future where we can work towards. And with the support of GTI and Blue Planet Alliance, we are able to work on a roadmap and also identify the possibilities and make. We didn't know where we were going. We an energy policy very early on in 2018 already. We had an energy policy that indicated that we had to move towards more sustainable sources of energy, because things that is the price of electricity. And in our case, if we want to lower the price of electricity and lower the price or the cost of doing business, one of the things that we need to do is to lower the electricity rates, because everything depends on that. The energy mix that we developed in the policy included a lot of renewables. And renewable energy is not new to us. We are one of the first in the Caribbean to have a wind park generate electricity from wind energy. In the 80s, early 90s, we already had our first wind energy park. And then we developed a second one in 2005. And I'm proud to say that in 2023, last year, we reached 30% renewable energy penetration in our energy mix. This year, we established a new wind park, third one on the island, and we will be reaching 50% by the end of this year. We are already at the end, and next month it will be definite. And the two earlier parks will be refurbished, and by 2020 we can reach 70% already of renewable energy, which will lower the energy as well. There's still a lot to be done because the infrastructure of the refinery is still there. It's a lot of area that it covers, and it has a lot of land surrounding it that will be developed into new sources of renewable energy, solar, and other types of activities to that we can reach by 2045. It costs a lot of PPP projects in development. The government-owned companies and also the Aqualector, the electricity company, are investing their funds in it. They are also partnering with others that can provide the knowledge but also the funding for these projects to come along. And we are looking into other ways to fund and get access to expertise and see how we can create this platform where more partners can join, more islands can join, and structure it in such a way that we can do things together and replicate in other islands, so it won't cost every island a lot of money, but that they share the knowledge and experience based on investments that are being made.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Anyway, Curaçao indeed, and is a very interesting case study anyway, and we are very committed to arrive to the end with Curaçao, and anyway, an island that has been hosting one of the 10 biggest refineries in the world, and now is committed to convert that refinery in a sustainable hub. And, but here is the challenge of just transition, jobs, of course, creation, and that is indeed is an interesting case for us to demonstrate that it's possible to create new jobs from renewables and new opportunities and of economy for the island, no, and this conversion. And indeed, we discuss in our also workshop the need of anyway. Curaçao is a climate change platform, which is already a great, and the president is here with us, Albert Martes, and we discuss also the fact the need of also of a commissioner for 100% renewables. What's the point of Guido before, not to have one person really dedicated to really the renewables, and we are discussing and working on that. Moving to Sonia, no, from the two perspectives, no, of you represent on one side the full renewable perspective, but also the solar, which is one of the key element also in the scenarios we build. Anyway, solar play many islands a key role anyway. So what is your perspective on for companies to invest in the islands? What is the gap anyway from your perspective? By the way, I'm proud to be part of director of Global Solar Council, and the islands are very much welcome inside the association. And thank you, Sonia, always in your meetings and debates. Sonia.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janny. And yes, I am really passionate about developing renewables for island nations and island communities and really helping to bring that 100% renewables island vision. So it is really remarkable to hear these stories about the solar that's being developed on the land around this old oil refinery in Curaçao, the story of the vision in Tonga for 100% renewables by 2035, and renewables can be done at very small scale and very large scale, and both I think are really relevant for islands. Bear in mind that we currently have 2 terawatts of solar installed around the world. We reached that milestone just before coming to Baku. And that makes the potential of renewables, the 1 terawatt of renewables potential on islands around the world, puts it into perspective how huge that is. And that's not just small and large scale PV, but also offshore wind, onshore wind, geothermal, storage, both long-term and short-term storage. And the high cost of electricity, although that is a huge burden for so many islands around the world, it is also a key component for building the business case for many renewable projects. And so, this can really help over time bring that cost down, but also attract those initial investment. I really encourage you to build those strategic roadmaps, including adaptation and resilience, and more decentralized energy systems can really help with that resilience. And I really encourage every multilateral development bank, every bilateral development finance institution to really have its point of contact for islands around the world. Look at Mauritius, 15,000 homes now having solar on the roof. We have as our member also the Sustainable Energy Industry Association of the Pacific Islands. We really, as the Global Renewables Alliance and the Global Solar Council, are really keen to support in terms of all different sources of finance in order to make this happen. So really happy to answer your questions and really keen to support this initiative.
Thank you very much, Sonia. You point out something very important. Anyway, the industry needs clarity on the roadmap of the island to make their plan and to decide if where to pay the attention, where to invest anyway their time, etc. So it's very important that we really, with all the partners, anyway, with Irina and all the partners working, really help the islands really to have a clear energy plan and strategy. And we discussed on Curaçao also policy for solar as well, where the island want to really focus also in a very important contribution in components. And we discussed about agri-PV as well, which is an important element. And on the point of Tonga, Sonia, anyway, Tonga is a group of more than 40 islands and a lot of small, and so microgrids and the small scale solar is very critical, but the question is how to bring down the costs when we build a lot of small projects, no? And this is the debate we can continue, etc. So we close this first round, of course, with the ASEAN Development Bank and with James Kolandarai, which is I need to thank because from many years now he's in our observatory intervening, bringing his knowledge. From the ADB, anyway, what are their programs for early stage financing? What are the challenges to arrive to the final funding? How you are trying to engage the private sector? Sorry, too many questions, but start from the one you feel more comfortable.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting to this panel, which is very meaningful for us. And as my arena colleague mentioned that we have been collaborating with various agencies, not only think tanks, but also work with other development partners, including European banks, European Union, EIB and World Bank, name ISDB, among many. So this is one way, because we need to bring as much financing, as much concessional financing to the SIDS, which is more important, because bringing concessional financing is one of the key elements which we try to bring. And though in the earlier presentation, we already heard that the challenges faced by SIDS, the grids were not good, dispersed nature of the SIDS, the economies of scale. But on the other side, there is a positive that the energy boundary is defined in these smaller countries. So if anyone can do 100% renewable energy, it can be the SIDS countries can be the first one who can deliver the 100% renewable energy targets. So that is a positive side. And probably I will take an example from one of the cases in South Asia, in the Maldives, where ADB has been doing a lot of renewable energy work, where we introduced renewable energy hybrid systems covering 160 islands out of the 187 inhabited islands. So, and that is the first step ADB has done, using the Preparing Outer Islands for Sustainable Energy Development project. So, which has been one of the flagship interventions in South Asia, and where we bring in concessional financing and grants to enable solar PV penetration in these islands. So then, what we learned from these islands is we really need to provide a lot of awareness creation. So we started awareness creation in the island community, in the women development councils, from the schools and for the students. So the training has been conducted covering 160 islands, probably over 20,000 individuals. So this has been, this need to come over and over again. And the first project supported introducing renewable energy. The second project we just processed a year back, which is to enhance private sector participation. What ADB did is ADB bought several financiers, including EU, ACLIF, and others, to reduce, including CIF, to reduce to take part in the capital-intensive battery energy storage and grid upgrades, and we asked private sector to invest in solar PV. So thereby reducing the cost of energy, which is one of the one of the issue which the PS also rightly mentioned, that we reduce the cost of energy, and we also bring in some instruments, financing instruments, which reduce the tariff buy down which reduce the tariff for solar PV. And the other thing, the important thing and the key thing we need to identify is energy sector is the only sector which can decarbonize other sectors. And in SIDS, actually, cross-sectoral interventions are critical. And basically that is what we learned from our experience, where we tried to do projects such as solar ice-making plants for communities to support fisheries, which is now in Maldives operated by women development councils. So I think we need to continue to sustain the intervention, because they are income generating, so they will continue to operate and manage. Similarly, we support interventions such as desalination for agricultural activities, which is also powered by renewables. And the other way is, probably we are thinking on in the future financing is incentive-based financing, where we provide grant financing, where the government reduce the fossil fuel consumption, where the financing can be incentive-based, based on the reduction on fossil fuel consumption. And also, as I rightly mentioned, we need to ensure that community-based renewable energy development and income generation will make the project more sustainable without needing more and more financing going into the projects, where the community will have income to finance the project themselves. So that should be an option in the future we need to consider. I will stop here. And I would like to share, I have a few knowledge products on the Maldives, which I bought in. And tomorrow there is a roadmap which the government of Maldives is releasing in ISA, in the International Solar Pavilion, which is at 5 p.m., where the minister himself will be launching the roadmap. So I would invite everyone to participate in the panel as well. Thank you very much. 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Indeed, the Minister of Energy was our guest, Sai, in Antigua Barbuda and sits for in our event. And yes, it seems to be a country also very much committed. You point out a very important element when we talk about early stage finance. We need to think about building capabilities, which is an important component. We need to really focus also on the nexus, which is very important, that create also in the island a critical mass of financing. Indeed, we need to find a way to combine different technologies, which is the frontier. So a last message, because the time is running and there is a wrap-up, but just a reaction on your reaction on really a message for COP. Anyway, we're discussing about early stage financing and what would be the message for COP from the different perspective, of course, talk about islands, how much the islands should count more and be joint can be stronger. Starting from Tonga, what would be the message? If you want to convert this topic in a message for COP, what would be your slogan, let's say, or message?
The first one is, I think it's enough talking and we start action. And to make that happen, we have to make sure that real money is all in the facility. We believe pledging is, we had enough pledging, but we need to see the real money so that we can use that to be accessible to finance all projects that we might have. And one thing that we might have to be considered, for us in the small state, island states, we believe grant going to be more like the escape route for us in some ways, although we consider all the loans in some ways, but grant will be in energy sector. If we have a project fund by grant, that really contribute to minimize and maintain an affordable tariff to the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very important message. Anyway, time to action. Thank you. Vanessa, a message?
My message. Irrespective of the constitutional status of islands, we need to look at islands as what they are, and not by the way they are organized or structured constitutionally. So every island needs to get access to funding, access to knowledge, access to expertise, and collaborate with each other to transfer this.
Of the world, yes.
Thank you so much. For me, the message, and this is the finance COP supposed to agree, the new collective quantified goal on climate finance. My message would be renewables is like a machine that eats capital, right? That eats a lot of capital at the beginning and then slowly gives her gift back of free, zero marginal cost electricity over 30, 40, even more, right? For hydro, 60, 70 years. And so, this is about as capital intensive as it gets. And so trust us, give us the capital up front, and we will pay you back in free and limitless and boundless, clean, pure energy for many years to come. And I'm sorry, but I need to go soon, so I might escape. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. So probably my last comment would be to make a revolving fund when the renewables are established using grants, so that this will be used for supporting future renewable energy projects. That's a commitment probably the SIDS needs to make to ensure that the grants are used properly for a long-term renewable energy investments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I give the floor to Sai for Navoti for the conclusions.
Thank you, Gianni. I thank the distinguished members of the panel for your contribution today. I think we've come to an end of our conversation. I see another team coming in to do this as well. And for Greening the Islands, Global Renewables, and UN DESA, we are targeting the Kingdom of Tonga to learn, to assist, to work together. We know that islands, as Vanessa was saying, irrespective of their constitutional background, they are a case for incubators. We can incubate renewable, and to get there, you need to take off with 100% early finance, and then we'll take it from there. So with that message, thank you very much for your participation, and to the panelists, thank you so kindly.